episode 11, Worst Prom Ever. And this is your boy Icon with some DC TV. And yeah, this prom was pretty bad. So, but it takes place when the last episode ended, when Naomi had just found out that her parents, they were aliens, and then, she was giving them the cold shoulder, and then she went to go sleep at her best friend's house for like 2 weeks, and then I don't know how she was able to sleep at her best friend's house because she got parents. But with that being said, Annabelle's parents didn't even accompany their own daughter to her own prom. So this is kind of one of those like questions we just don't answer. So it's prom night. But before we get to the prom, Naomi was actually talking to her parents because she did just come home. And when she had the conversation with her parents, she was just like, tell me everything. And then her parents, Greg and like her Peruvian mama, they said that, during the course of time when they were on Earth 29, that they actually did know Naomi's parents. They said that they're not a part of the 29. They don't have superpowers, but they did know who her parents were. And they promised her parents, along with Zumbadu, they promised that they would take care of her in the event that anything happened. Something happened, and now they're taking care of her, which was very jacked up because they've been calling her daughter, and they've been making her call her like mom and dad, knowing damn well they knew who her parents was. And if I was Naomi, I'd be mad too. But we're past that now, and we're just trying to get everything back on track and put the family back together. And Naomi's just like, you know what? She's like, it is what it is. I'm going to accept what it is. So let me just go to prom so I can decompress and get all this over with. So now she actually mended fences with Nathan, which was weird because we did get a lot of backstory with how both of them met. And, when he first met her, he insulted Superman, and then she didn't like him. And then they met at a party, and then they started talking at a party, and then they started dating. So now it was very centered around their relationship, which I thought was kind of weird. But then Nathan, he shows up at her house getting ready for prom, and then he's there, the other white kid is there that's taking Annabelle out. Like I said, and for some reason, Annabelle got dressed for prom at Naomi's house, and I'm like, where's Annabelle's parents? But that's a question. Maybe they didn't cast her parents yet, or she just got irresponsible parents. I don't know, but I've never known somebody going to prom and their parents not being there at some point to take pictures. But all of them go down to prom. So everybody's at prom. The only people who were not at prom, the purple hair girl was missing because there's 7 members of the Scooby Gang, a couple of people missing. The purple hair girl wasn't there. So, but everyone else is there. We're all dancing, we're singing, we're having a good time, blah, blah, blah. And then when Annabelle and Naomi went to the girls' bathroom, at first, before even that happened, Naomi started feeling kind of weird. She got these weird vibes, and I guess she traced the vibe energy to the girls' bathroom. And then when her and Annabelle had opened up a grate in the girls' bathroom, they found this really weird red force field. And they called Annabelle's boyfriend over, and then he looked at it, and then he was like, "Oh, it's a force field bubble." And he was like, "It happens to be surrounding the entire school, and we're all trapped." So now they're all freaking out, and they're trying to get a message out to either Zumbadu or to D so they can come in and save the day. The person that created the force field bubble works for Brutus. And he was able to use a frequency to talk to Naomi and, and tell her, he was just like, oh, Zumbadu can't save you. D can't save you. You're going to come with us, or else Brutus is going to, have his way one way or the other, either join us or die type of thing. So now she's really freaking out. But then Nathan kept getting upset because throughout the course of the prom, Naomi, Annabelle, and the other kid, I can't remember his name, they were sneaking off the prom, trying to figure out how to stop the bubble. They would go back to the prom. They were trying to work on the bubble, go back to the prom. And Nathan got to a point where he was just like, yo, we broke up a couple of episodes ago. We trying to get back together. We're trying to get our relationship back on track. And you keep ditching me to hang out with your best friend and her boyfriend. So unless there's something personal going on between the three of y'all that I don't know about, he was like, what's really good? And she didn't want to tell him. And then she was just like, oh, there is something going on, but you just have to trust me. And he was just like, you didn't tell me nothing for me to trust you. And, and then she was just like, oh, don't worry. I got this. She's like, just don't worry. And then she goes away. She goes hanging out with them again. And then it got to a point where Nathan got mad to the point where he kind of tracked her down, and then he busted through the door. And he was like, I caught you, the three of y'all hanging out together without me. And then he was just like, yo, I'm out. And then she chased him. Then she's like, oh my God, Nathan, don't leave. He was like, girl, get off me. I'm out. And then, she was talking to him, and then she was just like, oh, you can't leave. And he was just like, woman, he's like, you don't get up off my jacket. And he was going to leave. And then, that's what she finally told him. She was just like, oh, I'm an alien. She was like, there's a force field that's surrounding the school, and he's going to kill us all unless I do whatever he says. And he was like, what? Like the look on his face the entire time she spilled the beans and told, and finally told him who she really was like priceless. Because even towards the end, when she explained the whole thing about her being an alien and about the force field and about her being chased by this Brutus guy, and then she was just like, "Oh, I didn't want to tell you because I didn't think you'd understand." It was like, "Woman, I don't understand," but as any man that cares about somebody, it didn't matter whether or not he really understood what was going on. All he could see was that she was shaken, she was upset, she was visibly hurt, and she was crying, and you can't fake that. So he was just like, so that's when he was like, "Look, I don't know what's going on or what's happening, but I just know that I got you no matter what." So they bring him in onto the fold. So now there's 4 members of the We Know Naomi secret group, and they're trying to figure out what they can do. So they get all the kids together. They were just like, well, if we can get all the kids together in one room, then we can stop this guy from picking them off one by one. So they gather everybody up together in one room, and then while they're doing that, Naomi said that she was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna go out into the hallway and I'm gonna see if I can find some leftover people." She lied her ass off because she dipped and went to go after the guy that built the force field. So then Nathan and then the other 2, they went looking for her, and then they got trapped in a room. Naomi found the guy, and then the guy didn't fight her. The guy didn't punch her in the face, he didn't get into an altercation. He tried to go a different route, whereas everybody up to this point, they were trying to physically force her into submission. He just said, "I'm just going to emotionally and mentally break you," because he trapped every single person at the prom in a room, and then he trapped her 3 people in a room, and then he gave her 1 kill switch. And then he said that there's a force field on both doors that will incinerate everybody in that room. He said, "But if you use this device, it'll deactivate the room. But if you deactivate the room and you save the people in one room, it's going to send a signal to automatically activate the other room, and those people are going to die." So now she has a choice to make, which is the craziest thing, because in every superhero lore, there's always that choice of even in Batman, where it's do you save the girl or do you save the people? You always have that will they, won't they thing. So she's noticeably shaken, and as soon as she came back to her friends and she was crying, Nathan right out the gate, Nathan was like, "Yo, what happened?" He's like, "I know that look, something's wrong." And then she was just like, "Yeah," she said, "I have to choose between you and everybody else at the party." And then Nathan was just like, "Well, that's a no-brainer. There's 50 of them and 3 of us. We're the ones that have to die." And then the other kid was like, "Hold up." What I'm saying? He was like, "Speak for yourself." But then the kid thought about it, and he was like, "Well, if you're telling me it's a kill switch, what's going to happen is," he said, "that when you deactivate one room, it has to send a signal to the other room." So he said that you would actually have a small window. If you can hit this device on both doors, you can actually deactivate both doors and save everybody. But then he said you would really only have a second to do that, and she didn't know if she could do that. But of course, this is Naomi, this is her show, so she at least has to try. And then she bust out a new power, because we saw before she had the little glowing spears. Later on, we found out she could fly. I think she had super hearing at one point. There was an episode where she had super hearing, and now apparently the girl has super speed. And I feel they're she's low key Superman. She's like the female black. She has everything except freeze breath and X-ray vision. So she used her newly acquired super speed. She deactivated one room, and then she ran from one side of the hall to the other, and then she deactivated the other room, and she saved all of her people. So everybody was happy. Zambadu showed up at the prom. Dee showed up at the prom. Her Brazilian mama showed up at the prom, and then her daddy showed up at the prom, and then they were all talking to her, making sure she was okay. And the adults have some planning to do now, because the adults need to get together and decide how they're going to protect this girl going forward, because the cat's out the bag now. They already know, they know that she knows that they're not her real parents. So but they're still her legal guardians, and they have to protect her. I mean, like I said, Dee and Zambado, they're just friends at this point. But like I said, it's funny, because every single time she's in trouble, with the exception of this episode, up until this point, whenever she's in trouble and she has her back against the wall, one of the adults always steps in and saves her bacon, quote unquote. This was the first time she actually did it on her own without them. So and she even said her powers were growing and then everything. But there's gonna be a showdown between her and Brutus, and when that happens, we'll see if the whole gang comes together to have her back, or if she goes it alone and she's able to take him down on her own. But then after that, then the whole thing with Naomi and Nathan, they were dancing at the prom, and then more flashbacks, and then everything was going great. He's in on the fold now. He knows her secret. He knows about her and who she is. And then she fucked it all up by saying that they have to break up. And I was just like, and it's like the stupidest excuse. She's just like, oh, if something were to happen to you because of a decision that I made. And he was like, woman, something's been happening to me ever since this show started. You know what I'm saying? So, and then the thing about it is, the guy even said, he was like, oh, you have people who care about you. And he ran off the list of names of people that care about her. Just because the two of them aren't boyfriend and girlfriend does not remove him from the list of people that care about her. And it's going to be one of those things where, although they're not boyfriend and girlfriend, they're probably going to snatch Nathan up at some point anyway and use Nathan to get to her at some point anyway. So it's like you broke up with him for nothing. And then him being an upstanding guy, he knew it was bullshit, but he agreed. He was just like, yeah, he was like, you got a destiny, but I know that your destiny doesn't include me. He was like, so I'm going to let you go if that's what you want. But he was like, I'm letting you go, but I ain't going nowhere. And I'm like, all right, he's still sniffing around. Like he let go of her hand, but he ain't leave the room. Like I see what he doing. Like, I got you, Nathan. I said, the two of them like danced the night away. And then that's particularly how the episode ended. And thank you for tuning in. So now we have a 2-hour season finale coming up. Episode 12 and 13 is coming up, and when that happens, and it's good because, like I said, Superman and Lois is on break until the end of the month, so Naomi's reached the climax, and I guess like they got more shows and stuff that they gotta do, so they gotta get this one over with real quick. So I'm looking forward to seeing the conclusion of the series and how everything goes and how it all ties up and prepares us for hopefully a season 2. Check out the Tacos and Geek podcast with myself, Sean, Justin, and Gotham Geek Girl Nadya, where we talk about all things comic book, geek, superhero related, etc. Great podcast. Check it out. Link will definitely be in the description. Hit me up on Twitter and Instagram. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell so you'll get notified when my other videos pop up, because we got Superman and Lois on the channel. We got The Flash. We got Naomi. We got Moonknight. We got the season finale of Moonknight for all you Marvel fans. And we're still doing that Young Justice. So thank you for tuning in, guys. So till next week when we review the season finale of Naomi, take care. Keep it tight. Keep it locked. Until next time, I'm out this bitch.